But, Michael, I also want to play for you and, by extension, our audience, a sample of the Fox News coverage tonight. We'll discuss it on the other side.
He's not like everyone else. He doesn't do stuffy speeches or policy programs. He's not going to bore you with entitlement projections or some scary stuff about the Korean Peninsula. Beto's got a skateboard and wears Nirvana T-shirts. Beto's got that magic dust. Oh, yeah, he does. At least an 8-ball. Yet another Democrat has jumped into the race, this case being former Congressman Robert Francis Bozo O'Rourke. Well, that's what I call him. Bozo got off to a hot start in Iowa. If Bozo is elected, he plans to flush the Constitution down the toilet.
So, Michael, I'm guessing he can't count on that Fox News endorsement.
No, he won't be able to get them. You know, I think there is a significant concern in the Republican Party if Beto begins to catch fire. And the reason is they've sort of laid out a political strategy about casting the Democratic Party and its candidates as socialists, as people on the far left. And Beto has a lot of ways of defending himself on that score. He is relatively moderate when it comes to many economic policies. He has a long history in El Paso as a congressman, a city councilman, working very closely with Republicans there. He's boasted on the campaign trail about his desire to work with Republicans. And I think even in the Democratic Party, there are a lot of more moderate policy wonk types who are excited about him getting into the race after a couple months now in which the far left has really dominated the discussion. Of course, that's not his biggest appeal at this point. It is that charisma. It's the sort of punk rock authenticity that he brings to the campaign trail. And we'll just have to see if he can sort of scale up for what he needs to do to run a presidential campaign. And,
Michael, you just mentioned Republicans. Go back to that and let our viewers who haven't seen it yet know about your story tomorrow morning and what it's going to say about him.
Well, so I did a story that'll be in the Washington Post tomorrow, is online right now, about his long history with very wealthy Republicans in El Paso. They were actually, for many years, his biggest donors were Republican donors. These are people who give, $1 million, $2 million a year to other Republican candidates, and that's because he was working with them in El Paso on what, until recently, was really the project of his career, of rebuilding and remaking his hometown into a more affluent, middle-class, well-educated community that could attract college-educated people like himself. And so there is a story in his own biography that is very different from a lot of the Democrats running for Congress who really come from blue bubbles in various parts of the country and have worked all their careers with Democrats. O'Rourke is not one of those people. He's a progressive, he's liberal, but he has a long history of working very closely with Republicans.
And now, Gromer, to the point you made, I'm going to play something. This is a woman who showed up at a man, I'm told, who showed up at one of the events today. We'll play that, talk about it on the other side.
I have been coming to these since 1984, and I have never seen a more dynamic speaker than he was. And I've never seen this many people gather since Walter Mondale was out there on a hay wagon years ago.
So what have we learned? Definite non-woman, first off. Second, Gromer, he's doing a long reach back to Walter Mondale, and that's what you were talking about. We'll see if the Texan politics travel north to Iowa, further east to New Hampshire. Then you got South Carolina to think about.
Yeah, you got South Carolina and Nevada, and then you have Texas and California and Massachusetts and several other states in March on Super Tuesday. And so that's why he's spending a lot of time in Iowa. He hopes to get off to a good start, do well there, and he's looking at Texas and some other big states where he can make a splash there. Michael's right. He has if you notice today at his first stop, he talked about, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or what you are. He's used to running in a sort of arena where he can be nonpartisan, sort of. This is a primary, so it'll be interesting to see how he rolls up his sleeves and gets in there and fights for votes where there are voters who, when he was running for Senate, he had a united front, right, against Ted Cruz. Now that vote is kind of split up, and you have 13 candidates all trying to divide the same pie up. So it'll be interesting to see how he maneuvers, especially since he doesn't really like to get that partisan.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.